Well, good evening and welcome to another episode of The Land of Saints and Sinners with me, your host, Richard Taylor, and the wonderful
Clark.
and the wonderful
Jojo.
Well, we want to talk about conspiracy theory tonight. Is it a conspiracy theory though?
Dun dun dun.
Because when the government say conspiracy theory, you can bet your bottom dollar it's the truth. We're talking, of course, about the 15-minute cities. Check this video out and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the concept of a 15-minute city. Currently, 16 cities around the world have committed to implementing a 15-minute city structure, which many believe will be the way of the future. Paris has taken major strides toward that goal by constructing more than 600 miles of protected bike lanes and introducing more green spaces. That kind of infrastructure encourages sustainable ways of getting around, contributing to reduced traffic congestion and a healthier urban ecosystem. The positive impacts observed from the 15-minute city model have caught the attention of the United States. Inspired by Paris's approach, Cleveland's mayor has initiated a similar plan, aiming to transform significant portions of the city into healthier, more connected living spaces. But not everyone is happy about the idea.
If they do limit people to those places, that is exactly what people are terrified of. If they embrace this concept and create this model and then somehow or another mandate that you stay inside that's terrifying.
In addition to Joe Rogan, right-wingers like Jordan Peterson also oppose the concept of a 15-minute city. Peterson labeled it a tyrannical, bureaucratic idea. Conservative circles that subscribe to Rogan and Peterson see it as government overreach or even a conspiracy. They fear loss of personal freedoms and increased government control.
So, do you think it's conspiracy? Let's be honest, they locked us down, didn't they? Remember, 24/7 at one stage. So, I wonder if it is a climate lockdown. Clark, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it is, if it's aligned to the WEF, everything that they have tried to do in the past, whenever anyone's criticised it, they've said, when they come out with these policies, they say, that's a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. And what we're seeing is it all falling into place. Everything that is a conspiracy theory has been proposed by the WEF and is now being implemented by the WEF. And I think when you piece everything together, how are they going to achieve what they want with digital IDs, climate control, eco, net zero, and all the rest of it without having the control over where you live and how you live? So it may be a conspiracy theory, but I don't actually think it is a conspiracy theory.
It's about controlling it.
Of course it is. And the thing is, like, conspiracy theory, I find it such a really annoying term because actually it's a truthist theory. Because what we see is, like you said, everything coming into fruition. So as people have been saying, oh my gosh, this is going to come, this is going to happen, we're going to see this, we're going to see that. And people, like when we put something up with your post the other day, are saying, you know, literally, we've been warning you for ages. We've been telling you guys these 15 minutes, cities are coming in. But do you know what that means? This is like a furthered control, isn't it? This is like a whole governance of everything we do. And actually, if you look further into it, it's quite frightening.
Well, it started off in the US as an experiment, isn't it? It's in Paris and a few other countries as well. And the idea is to reduce the carbon emissions, of course, less cars. So you got your amenities are closer, your schools, your shops. But obviously, the social impact of that is getting people into a city for 50 minutes and out. Now, Oxford has been doing it. That TikTok blew up. It's your best TikTok so far, brother.
Yay!
Yeah.
Come on!
I mean, the interesting thing about the Oxford thing is that they've suddenly put out there a proposal that at certain points entering the city, you won't be able to drive in if you don't come from Oxford or Oxfordshire. If you live in Oxford, you'll be able to drive into the city centre. And I think it's got to make that point. It's driving in. They're not turning around saying you can't walk in. They're saying that you can't drive in.
Didn't someone say in your TikTok, why you go to Oxford? It's a bit of a shit dog.
Yeah. I'm not going to comment on Oxford. I'm not going to say whether it's a shithole or not. I think it's a lovely place, full of lovely people. Apart from the coalition council that they've got there. But yeah, so if you live within Oxford, you can go in 100 times. They'll allow you to drive in 100 times. If you live in Oxfordshire, you can drive in 25 times. If you don't live in Oxford or Oxfordshire, you won't be able to drive in at all. You'll have to park up and use the park and rides or whatever to get yourself into the city. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people backlash. I mean, there's mobility issues. You know, the transport system has to be very good in order to get the people in. It will be a disincentive for people to visit. So therefore, tourists, businesses that are reliant upon people coming in. Because Oxford, let's face it, so it's the main city for the Cotswolds, really, isn't it? Oxford, Cheltenham. But so it's a major place for people in those rural areas to go and visit and do their day-to-day shopping, access the banks and so forth. But these proposals were in 2023 as well, and there was 2,000, 3,000 people all in yellow jackets protesting, and they sort of like shelved those plans for a bit. And again, people were turning around and saying, "We don't want this 15-minute city. We don't want it," and they were being accused of being conspiracy
So
theorists.
did the protest work for them to shelve it? Was it the protest that
it
caused them to
obviously
do it?
wasn't getting the support that they wanted, but they're doing it anyway. They're implementing it anyway, and I think that's the problem with all of these initiatives. People will moan about it, and they'll go, right, okay, we hear that, and they'll shelve it for a bit, and then they come round and implement it in a different way and at a different time.
It's not where these things start, it's where they end up, and it's where they're going. And I think if you looked at the lockdowns, I mean, science proved that because less cars were on the road, because people weren't traveling as much, then the pollution in the air was a lot less. So it did less and it did work. And this is kind of a net zero lockdown in a disguise, really, to say, look, we're doing it for social and social reasons, for for easy access to your schools, to shopping, to all that kind of stuff. But actually, this is tyrannical. It's a nanny state. They're going to lock us down again, 15 minutes, tell us where we can go, and I can guarantee you there'll be facial recognition, right? So if you're spotted outside your 15 minutes, you're going to fine you. This is a tyrannical government that we're under, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
They have got these 15-minute cities elsewhere. I think Melbourne's a 15-minute city. They've done it in parts of Paris and things like that. So they will be presented as, we're not trying to control you, we're just trying to improve your lives. So because that's what they've got up and
Sorry,
running
are we
at the
going
moment.
all the way back to have nothing, own nothing, and be happy? But let's look at lockdown. Who the hell was happy? Depression, alcoholism, divorce? Was it a massive,
I went
massive...
to all three of those.
Suicide!
It just failed.
But seriously, when we had nothing, we had everything within our home. We had like children doing homeschooling, and we had, everything kind of within like a certain remit. I'm sorry, but the society went to shit. Not because of like what was happening, like, in the world, as in like the net zero and, sort of protecting, but the problem was, I was going online, actually. I was working for the BBC doing some talks with the radio, and they were like asking us, how are we coping? How are the children coping? And there was, a need to understand what was happening on a societal level. What are you laughing at me for?
Sorry, because when you said we're going on radio to do some talks, I was thinking, well, yeah, that's what you normally do. How long are you feeling? No, I was with the BBC on radio to do talks.
Because I was trying to think, was it my agony aunt slots? Well, no, it wasn't. It was actually, I had an agony aunt slot, and then I was doing
so you were on the BBC giving talks about all that, weren't you?
Yeah. And I just think it's just really important to recognise that actually it's gone shit. So if they are going to do these like 15 minutes, what's going to happen to us on a spiritual and an emotional level too?
I think, as Richie was saying, it's where it ends up, right? Because in theory, it all sounds absolutely brilliant. I mean,
does it?
Well, yeah. I mean, to a certain extent.
Oh, we're going to have a debate now.
They paint it as some utopia that you're going to get everything back.
It sounds like Hunger Games to me.
No, but we were talking about earlier where places like, if you look back in Victorian times, places like Bourneville, Cadbury's, they built a village for the workers, and the workers were there. They worked in the factory making the chocolate. They had the beautiful, well-made homes that had running water, and that was all provided for them by their employer. So everything that they had was dependent upon the jobs that they had. But Bourneville was a beautiful, beautiful place. They had recreational facilities, they had health facilities. They were looked after by their employers in there. And to be fair, I'm pretty sure that the people that lived in Bourneville, they really didn't have to go out of Bourneville too far, because they had everything they needed there. And that's the kind of ideal that they're going to present.
I mean, that does sound quite lovely. Like growing up in the church, like you have like community-based everything. It's all about fellowship. It's all about having the right people around you. And I hear that can sound quite lovely on a community level, but it's not like that. We're not living in that era.
No, and that's exactly the point I was going to make. It's like, okay, in theory it sounds great, but let's think this through. So you've got a certain amount of people living in that 15-minute city, so or in that 15-minute town. I don't like the 15-minute city bit. It's more like a 15-minute village bit town. So all the access to healthcare is all there within that 15-minute walk.
You're still going to wait for 6 hours in any.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
You know, that could all be overwhelmed. What happens?
It's 10 hours around here, you know.
What happens in 10, 20, 30 years' time as the population explodes? Like it could create more congestion. It could create more overcrowding. The housing may not be sufficient for this, but because people are going to reproduce. You know,
because they're going to be bored.
Yeah, they're going to be bored. Yeah, you know,
they're going to
be. You know,
get yourself a TV.
Yeah.
I should have done.
Get yourself a better hobby.
So going back to the benefits then, so people understand this. So they're pushing this, and these are the benefits: to reduce car dependence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been on the agenda for years, isn't it? Right, for the net zero plan. To improve public health services, stronger local economies, social cohesion, and more viable cities. I mean, those listening to the benefits, but obviously those like Jordan Peterson and Josh Rogan have been calling this out. I've been calling it quite a while actually, because it's starting in the US, we mentioned at the start of the show. For the simple reason, can you trust the government to tell you they're doing something for your benefit? And the benefit is all the things I've just listed, and they're saying we're going to do it by locking you down or allowing you out for 15 minutes a day. Would you believe a single word they say?
Absolutely not, because let's look at actually how Keir Starmer is behaving at the moment. We've had one kind of like profession, which is everybody's welcome, and then the next thing he's turned around when he realises, oh God, not everybody's like sort of backing this, to then saying, oh, you know, it's
we're all strangers. And, yeah.
Exactly, this is not cool, and so I don't trust the man whatsoever. Lockdown was a complete farce because they were out drinking, you know, sort of attending funerals, going to parties, whilst we were all locked in. You know, some of us were rebellious.
Well, I went out drinking in lockdown.
I was rebellious.
Barbecues and parties and everything, so I didn't believe in it because I didn't believe in the government.
Absolutely, I don't believe in the government. The government are not for us, and why would anybody believe that?
Well, one of the things as well, some things they've said is to do with the restriction of the movement of people. Now that's interesting, given the mobility scheme they come out with now, Labour and the freedom of movement thing. Well, they want to restrict our movement, Clark.
Exactly, and I think, when you look at this Oxford example, if you live within the confines of a certain postcode, you're allowed to do this 100 times. You're allowed to go in 100 times. You're allowed to use your car 100 times. So what happens on the 101st time? If you turn it off, do you get fined like thousands of pounds? It's that whole thing about having control over you.
Yeah.
And they'll be turning around saying, no, you've got, you know, get the bus. Get the bus, get the tram, whatever.
Like getting a bus in Wales.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
But you see, this is the point, isn't it? It's great in theory, but in practice, does it actually work? I mean, some places like are going to be built in geographically constrained locations where it's just going to be nigh on impossible to be able to deliver the services, deliver the ability to have the infrastructure that can allow people to move around and access everything. And I think.
So I was going to laugh again. I'm so sorry tonight, folks. I was just thinking, 15 minutes. We've been shopping with you, right? 15 minutes. I mean, you take a lot. No, it's grand.
Sorry. Which kind of shopping? Clothes shopping or food shopping?
Well, food shopping normally. Like walk down one aisle, walk back up another aisle, walk down the same aisle, and then, you know. So 15 minutes wouldn't work for you, would it?
No.
50 minutes.
I don't think it'd work for any mother of 5 and, you know, having to feed the kid. It just doesn't work.
And I think that's the bit.
But you can walk in and I can be there as long as I like, yes?
Yeah.
So I can walk in,
but
I'm sometimes in a wheelchair and sometimes not. So if I'm in my wheelchair, I can wheel in, yes?
Yeah, wheel yourself in.
And then on the other occasion, I can walk in.
But what if you went?
And I can stay there as long as I want.
Yeah, this is it. The 15-minute city is about travel distance. It's not about restricting the amount of time that you spend in one place.
But you say that, but I've seen stuff where they've promoted staying in the city within 15 minutes.
Well, so in and out in 15 minutes.
And they said that's a conspiracy. So I just don't trust them. If they just say, what is the, I mean, I've looked at the benefits. I mean, it's just it's a climate change lockdown. And I foresaw this coming, climate change lockdown, because after the lockdown happened back in, 2022, whenever.
A virus
whenever
lockdown
it was,
or a pandemic. Yeah.
I mean, that was a social experiment that they put on us as people, and they thought, now we can control the masses. Now we can introduce lockdowns. We can control people's movement. We can limit what they do, where they go, what they eat, which they did in Wales. They blocked off aisles, saying these things aren't necessary. You don't need to purchase them. Mark Drakeford, the emperor on Cardiff Bay, the first minister he was then. I mean, some of the draconian measures, and the government are just tyrannical in their approach to these 50-minute cities. And to me, it's a social experiment that they just want to use it to show that they've got the power again and they've got the control.
Do you know, for me, sorry, but when my doctor sat me down and said, do not take the vaccine, it will kill you, that for me was when I stared at him and said, what? And he said, we are being paid to promote the vaccine. We are being paid to promote this virus and push you to all have the vaccine. But because you're my favorite patient, I'm asking you, do not have it. It will kill you. At that point, when somebody who is on your side, who is a doctor, he's from Israel, he came over, he was working, in Wales, and he was phenomenal. And I believe he saved my life. So if a doctor is doing, what the hell are the government doing? So this is why I don't trust the government whatsoever.
I find it very hard to trust the government.